Guns in America are inevitable, but gun violence is not. With social anxiety related to gun violence rising to an all-time high, it's time for us to act on a solution. The American Progress Center reports over 320,000 deaths related to guns in the last decade, and our nation has expressed its outcry for some sort of way to reduce this number. There have been demands for stricter background checks, disallowing people on the terrorist watch list to purchase guns, and even bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. But one component of gun violence far too often overlooked is mental health. And due to the sheer number of firearms held by the American people, and considering that they are a staple in the American Constitution, it may be best that we focus our approach to this problem on people rather than the guns. Therefore, I am here to argue that the solution to this problem may be found in extensive psychological research and strengthened healthcare programs. It is clear that we have a gun-related problem here in America. But why is it that we experience this issue? Many people believe it to be that there are too many guns in the hands of the American people and that they are too easy to acquire. But let's take a look at some statistics on the issue. A report from UC Davis Health Department shows that 61% of firearm deaths between 2008 and 2017 were suicide, compared to 35% of that being homicide. This shows that the majority of gun violence is self-inflicted, and furthermore that the root of the problem lies in mental health struggles experienced by the victims. Another report by the Center for American Progress states that while gun homicide receives the majority of gun violence media, it's actually suicide that accounts for the majority of gun violence in America. And this is an issue because we are allowing people to die by their own hand due to a lack of awareness and lack of a support system for them. Gun-related homicide, on the other hand, continues not due to lack of awareness, but due to lack of effort to address the mental health struggles related to violence. Data collected by the FBI shows that there are certain communities more susceptible to gun violence than others. Yet there is a lack of additional support in these high-risk communities. This is an issue because people are experiencing high violence rates when they could be helped by a support system. There just isn't one. And so I believe that there's a problem with gun violence in America that stems from a mental health crisis. And because mental health has such a negative social stigma, the crisis is being met with little to no effort to help the people stuck in it. Therefore, my solution to the issue entails extensive research related to suicide and gun violence, and secondly, making mental health and wellness tools readily available in communities. The first step in my proposed solution is expanding psychological research in gun violence related areas. Sean Gregory and Chris Wilson wrote an article posted on the Time magazine website about ways to reduce gun violence in America. They address how medical professionals in our country are poorly equipped with knowledge on gun-related deaths compared to that of car-related deaths, when each cause a similar number of deaths each year. And this lack of knowledge, they say, is due to a restriction on funding needed for the research. Gregory and Wilson even refer to a journal from the American Medical Association claiming that gun violence received only 1.6% of the funding they were projected to get. And when talking about federal money, this is the difference between $1.4 billion and $22 million. So it's safe to say that we need policies that will dedicate more money into the research on gun violence. And this is also necessary for Step 2 to be effective. Step 2 involves creating better access to mental wellness and tools in communities. And these tools are not limited to treatment, but also include things like education. In an American Psychology Association document, a quote from Dr. Cornell, a PhD at the University of Virginia, says, "Helping parents with aggressive children teach conflict resolution skills and improving access to mental health services all need to be part of a broad prevention plan." Dr. Cornell clarifies that there are mental health tools other than services, like education, that need to be part of the plan. And this can come in the form as simple as spreading educational information through a medium like a billboard sign. In another report by the American Psychology Association, on gun violence prevention policy, they state that mental health treatment can often prevent gun violence. And treatment is often sought after, but it's not as easy to come by. According to the National Council for Behavioral Health, 74% of Americans believe that mental health care is inaccessible. And we need to develop a widespread mental health care system devoted to mental health. For example, as one would go see a dentist for their teeth, we need a mental health care professional that we can see on a regular basis. And that being said, we need a policy that's going to systematically place mental health professionals across the nation. And it needs to be backed by the funding that can make it accessible to all. Lastly, with a news outlet like the Washington Post reporting as many as 393 million guns in the hands of Americans, it is impossible to think of them as ever being eradicated from society completely. And although it seems that guns can be blamed for many of the trials and tribulations in our society goes through, we cannot accept violence as a reality. What we can and must do, though, is push for policies that expand our research on gun-related violence and then implement a system that allows healthcare professionals to treat, educate, and guide our citizens to living in a safer society. The policies I have presented today have the potential to save lives, and that is something that we as humans should always strive to do, as it will only create a better future for you, me, and the generations to come.